we are very grateful and honored to present our MDGs in front of so much people. So before we start, as we are presenting about MDG, I wanted to briefly talk about MDG. So MDGs, which is the abbreviation of Millennium Development Goals, are 8 international development goals that are established following the Millennium Summit of the United Nations in 2000, following the adoption of the United Nations Millennium Declaration. So there were 8 about poverty and maternal environment and different kinds of global issues that are talked these days. And interestingly, when our group was formed, we were very interested in environment. So we decided to present our MDGs, which is Goal 7, ensuring environmental sustainability. So the point here is what we specifically look on is the sustainability. So we want to briefly talk about which environmental sustainability means. Environmental sustainability means finding innovative ways to cost and minimize our impact on the environment through energy and water conservation, as well as reduced use of packaging material. Since sustainability is an important and significant challenge we have confronted these days, we decided to determine our problems about climate changes, and we found some interesting statistics about this problem, and he will continue.
These statistics, as you can see, shows the global temperature changing from 1880 to 2013. The red line shows the average of 5 years of global temperature changes. In 1880, you can see that the global temperature was near -0.2 Celsius. But in 2013, it rose to 0.6 Celsius. This means that the most of the time the temperature has rose and is keep rising. This global warming is causing many problems like climate changes in the ecosystem, and desertification, and so on. The greenhouse effect will also make the temperature of polar regions higher, which makes the frozen soil of those regions melt. The melting of those frozen soil will make the organic matters like methane and CO2 disintegrate and make the density of those matters in the atmosphere higher. This will eventually make the greenhouse effect worsen and make a vicious cycle. Now, Hyunwoo will present the problems of climate change.
Okay, there are various kinds of natural disasters that are occurring due to the climate change, which is mainly floods, droughts, and the cold wave we are experiencing here in New York. First of all, floods. Floods is the worst kind of natural disaster that brings various side effects such as river overflow, destruction of crops and agricultural land, and also the destruction of infrastructure and facilities that has a high possibility of being led to the obstacle of economic growth. The scale of this devastating natural disaster is continuously increasing, which led to the deaths of 2,300,000 people in Indonesia in 2004. Going on to the second term, drought, I would like to mention that this problem is the most urgent one throughout the whole globe. Droughts usually have occurred in certain regions, including the Sahel and Central Asia, but it has been increasing its range to other places, becoming the main cause of desertification. Due to climate change, the rate and range of droughts have increased dynamically, and therefore the speed of desertification has reached 30 soccer fields per minute. Cold wave, which is occurring here in New York, is also another big problem. It is very tragic that 22 people have passed away due to this cold, and furthermore, we can't even measure the economic loss. These kinds of cold waves are known to be exceptional in the United States in the past, and people could not make provisions for this sudden incident.
Okay. So, how can it solve this problem? Let's approach very fundamental problem. Do you know what causes the climate change? I think you can easily come up with it, the green gases. And how can we reduce the emissions of green gases? We'll suggest some formula of this. We suggest that UN should collaborate with each state's government and the citizens. Let's suppose that citizens buy the products which uses the less green gases when it was produced, and then they will get the receipt from the market. And when they hand the receipt to the government, they can get the discount from the tax. And from this process, there are two options for the citizens. They can get their money from the discount, or donate the money for the government, or the protection of the environment, or investment to the companies in order to produce the eco-friendly product. In order to produce the eco-friendly products. Through this formula, we can enforce the companies which waste the resources to make it more eco-friendly, because the consumers are the citizens. So this is the end of our presentation, and thank you for listening.
Questions from the judges?
How does the problem with climate change affect the poorest people in society? What is the relationship between climate change and poverty?
Like, I heard the news that from the cold, the homeless and some people who don't have like heaters or electricity dies because it's extremely cold for them. I think it's related to poverty, because people who have money to buy those things which can protect them from the climate change can survive from this condition. But think about the poor; they cannot survive. And for example, agriculture. And the third world, main products of their economies are usually agricultures, and those products of agricultures are like cropped or something like broken, and ecosystem was extremely broken through this climate change. So they cannot get the incomes from them. So I think that poverty are related to the climate change.
Go ahead. What's the incentive for companies to create these eco-friendly products?
Incentive? Like, it's kind of incentive, but we can give them some investment for the money, and they can research or make it like less access at this point. If the citizens are like, it's kind of enforcing, because like I heard that they have the enough technologies to produce the eco-friendly products, but they don't, because it causes more money and more efforts. But if the citizens are willing to buy the products which is eco-friendly, and because of their consumers, companies should do that, not like incentive of this. Like I think it's like obligation to the companies which is exist in 21st century.
Sorry, one more. Thank you for your presentation. You mentioned in discussing your equation, you mentioned the UN, I think very briefly. Could you explain what the role of the UN is in that equation you have?
I think that UN, especially the UN, can cooperate with the government and make some committees to do that, or like get some investment for the countries who cannot get the discount for the tax to the citizens of their states, like developing countries or something. Like, yeah.
Okay. A round of applause for this.